Maya stood in the middle of the small living room, her heart racing as her mother's voice echoed through the apartment. I can't keep doing this, Maya. You've been living here like a leech, Evelyn shouted, pointing a shaking finger at her. Maya blinked, unsure if she had heard right. A leech? Mom, I pay rent every month. On time. You know that. Evelyn crossed her arms, her face hard. Rent, please. You think that little money means anything? You've been living off my generosity for too long. It's time for you to move out. The words hit Maya like a slap. She had been living in this apartment for 4 years, ever since she got her job at the law firm. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers, or at least she thought it was. Move out, she repeated softly, her voice trembling. Why? What did I do? Before Evelyn could answer, Jenna walked in, her round belly showing under a loose t-shirt. She looked between them, worried. Mom, maybe we can talk about this calmly. Evelyn cut her off. No, Jenna. You need a stable place for your baby. This is the best option. You'll move in here next month. Maya's mouth fell open. Wait, what? She looked at her sister. You're moving in? So I'm being kicked out for you. Jenna sighed, rubbing her stomach. Maya, please don't make this harder. You know how stressed I am. I just need a safe place to stay. It's not like you can't find somewhere else. Somewhere else. Maya's voice cracked. Jenna, apartments aren't free. I have bills, loans. Evelyn raised her hand sharply. Don't start, Maya. You're always so dramatic. You're almost 30 and still depending on me. It's time you learn to stand on your own 2 feet. Maya felt her throat tighten. I am standing on my own. I've been working nonstop since college. I've helped pay bills, bought groceries even. Enough. Evelyn snapped. You never do anything without reminding us how much we owe you. You're selfish, Maya. Always have been. The room went silent. Jenna shifted uncomfortably, glancing at her sister. She doesn't mean it like that, she murmured, but her voice was small. Evelyn reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope, placing it on the table. Here. Consider this your notice. You have 2 weeks to leave. Maya stared at the envelope, her mind blank. 2 weeks. After everything she had done for this family, after all the nights she'd stayed up helping her mother pay bills, after all the times she'd covered for Jenna's mistakes, this was how it ended? Jenna bit her lip. I'm sorry, Maya. I really am. I just need stability for my baby. Maya looked at her sister, then at her mother. Their faces blurred as tears filled her eyes. She didn't reach for the envelope. She didn't argue anymore. She just stood there, the sound of her own heartbeat loud in her ears. And in that moment, something inside her broke. It hit me right then. In my mother's eyes, I was never the daughter worth keeping. After the confrontation, Maya sat alone on the edge of her bed, staring at the walls of the apartment she had called home for years. The air still felt heavy from the shouting. Her mother's words echoed in her mind, selfish, leech, ungrateful. She tried to push them away, but they stuck like thorns. She thought about how it all began. How, for as long as she could remember, she had been the one holding everything together. When Maya was younger, she learned quickly that being the good daughter meant doing whatever her mother asked. Evelyn had raised them alone after their father left, and Maya took that as her cue to become the responsible one. She helped with the bills, cooked dinner, and looked after Jenna. She did her homework at the kitchen table, while folding laundry or watching soup boil on the stove. Jenna, on the other hand, was always the sunshine in the house. She had a bright smile, a charming laugh, and a way of getting out of trouble no matter what she did. If Jenna forgot to do her chores, Evelyn would sigh and say, "She's just tired." If Maya made a small mistake, Evelyn would shake her head and say, "I expected better from you." Maya used to believe that if she worked hard enough, if she stayed perfect, her mother would love her the same way she loved Jenna. But the harder she tried, the more invisible she felt. Years later, Maya got a job as a paralegal at a small law firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. She worked long hours, saved every penny, and dreamed of going to law school one day. She didn't go out much, didn't travel, didn't spend on herself. Everything she did had a purpose: stability, security, independence. Jenna's life was the opposite. She had gone to college for a year, but dropped out when she met a man named Ryan. He was charming but unreliable, the kind of man who made promises he never kept. When Jenna got pregnant, Ryan disappeared. Evelyn didn't blame Jenna, she blamed the world. Men are cruel, she said, pulling Jenna into her arms. You just need to rest. I'll take care of you. Maya had heard those words before. I'll take care of you. But they were never meant for her. Sometimes, Maya would come home after a long day at work and find Evelyn and Jenna laughing on the couch, watching TV, eating takeout that Maya had paid for. And when she tried to join them, the laughter would fade. They would talk in low voices, share looks that made her feel like a guest in her own home. Still she helped. When the electricity bill was overdue, she paid it. When Jenna needed money for prenatal vitamins, Maya handed her cash. When Evelyn said, "You know how hard things are for us," Maya nodded and gave whatever she could. She told herself it was family, and family meant sacrifice. But deep down, she wondered why love in her family always felt like a transaction. Why did she have to earn what Jenna got so freely? One night, she remembered being 15. Evelyn was crying in the kitchen over an unpaid rent notice. Maya had taken the little money she'd saved from tutoring classmates and placed it quietly on the table. Evelyn had hugged her, then whispered, "You're my rock." But later that night, when Jenna accidentally broke a vase, Evelyn's tone softened again, saying, "It's okay, sweetheart. It's just a thing." That memory hurt the most, because it showed her that no matter what she did, love in her home had never been equal. Now, as she sat in her apartment surrounded by half-packed boxes, Maya tried to make sense of it all. Maybe her mother didn't hate her. Maybe Evelyn just didn't know how to love without control. Maybe Jenna wasn't even to blame. She had been taught to depend on others, while Maya had been taught to survive alone. Still, it didn't make the pain easier. She picked up the envelope her mother had left and turned it in her hands. The paper crinkled, but she didn't open it. She already knew what it said. 2 weeks, and she had to leave. For a long time, Maya just sat there, letting the quiet sink in. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too full of memories that no longer felt safe. Maybe this was her chance to start over. To stop trying to win her mother's approval. To stop carrying a family that never carried her. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "Maybe if I just leave quietly, I can finally have peace." And for the first time in her life, she meant it. At work, Maya's boss, Mr. Daniels, noticed that she looked tired and distracted. She had barely spoken all morning and kept staring blankly at her computer screen. Mr. Daniels was a calm, older man with kind eyes and a patient voice. He had seen Maya handle stressful cases before, but today something was different. "Maya," he said gently, standing by her desk, "you've been quiet all day. Is everything all right?" She hesitated, her fingers frozen on the keyboard. "It's nothing serious, sir. Just family stuff." He pulled up a chair beside her. "Family stuff can be serious. Want to tell me what happened?" For a moment, she thought about keeping it to herself. It felt embarrassing to admit that her own mother had thrown her out. But as she looked at his kind face, the words came tumbling out. She told him everything. The argument, the insults, the eviction notice, and how her pregnant sister was moving into her apartment. When she finished, Mr. Daniels leaned back, frowning slightly. "And she gave you 2 weeks to move out?" Maya nodded. "Yes, but it's her apartment. I mean, she owns it. I've been renting from her, but..." He shook his head. "Maya, that doesn't matter. You're her tenant. If you've been paying rent, she can't just throw you out without proper notice. That's not how the law works." Maya looked at him, confused. "But she's my mother. I can't take legal action against her." Mr. Daniels sighed softly. "I understand. But this isn't about hurting your mother. It's about protecting your rights. You've done everything by the book, and you deserve to be treated fairly, even by family." His words sank in slowly. She had always believed that family problems should stay private, that fighting back would make her the bad one. But for the first time, someone was telling her that it was okay to stand up for herself. Mr. Daniels handed her a small booklet from his drawer. "This explains tenant rights. Read it. You might be surprised at how much power you actually have." That night, Maya sat on her couch reading through the booklet. Her heart was heavy, but a spark of courage began to grow. Maybe she didn't have to leave so easily. Maybe she didn't always have to be the one who gave in. Just as she started to feel a bit calmer, she heard a knock on the door. When she opened it, she froze. Evelyn and Jenna stood there, surrounded by boxes and bags. "What's going on?" Maya asked, her voice unsteady. Evelyn didn't answer. She brushed past Maya and placed a box in the hallway. We're just moving some of Jenna's things in early, she said coldly. You'll be gone soon enough. Maya's chest tightened. You can't just do that, Mom. I still live here. Evelyn turned, her eyes sharp. Live here? You think this is your home? You're lucky I even let you stay this long. Jenna stood behind her, looking uncomfortable. Mom, maybe we should wait. Evelyn waved her off. No. She needs to understand that this apartment doesn't belong to her. You think a piece of paper makes this your home? She shouted, pointing at Maya. Maya's throat ached. I've paid rent for years. I've followed every rule. Enough. Evelyn snapped. You're always playing the victim. This is what's wrong with you, Maya. You think the world owes you something. Maya felt tears burning in her eyes. She wanted to scream, to defend herself, to remind her mother of all the sacrifices she'd made. But the words stuck in her throat. She stepped back, her hands shaking, and watched as they filled the hallway with boxes. It felt like her whole life was being pushed aside, like she was disappearing from her own home. After a long silence, Evelyn finally left with Jenna, slamming the door behind them. The sound echoed through the empty apartment. Maya sank to the floor, tears running down her cheeks. For years she had been quiet to keep the peace. She had accepted blame, swallowed pain, and done everything right. And still, it was never enough. But as she sat there in the dim light, something inside her began to shift. The fear that had always held her back started to fade, replaced by a new, steady strength. She wiped her tears and whispered to herself, maybe it's time they finally respected me, even if it means fighting back. And for the first time, she truly meant it. Evelyn turned the whole family against Maya, telling anyone who would listen that her eldest daughter had become cruel and jealous. She called her sisters, cousins, and even old family friends, crying over the phone about how Maya was trying to throw her own pregnant sister into the streets. Before long, Maya began getting strange looks at family gatherings, and even colder messages online. One aunt wrote, "How could you do this to your mother after all she's done for you?" Another cousin texted, "Jenna's pregnant, Maya. Show some compassion." Each message felt like a stone thrown at her chest. She wanted to explain, to tell them how her mother had lied, how she'd been forced out of her own home. But she didn't. She knew it wouldn't matter. They only ever believed Evelyn's version of the story. Then came the post. Jenna uploaded a long message on social media with a picture of her baby bump and a sad caption. Some people don't care if a baby ends up homeless, even their own family. I just pray for peace. Within hours, the post was full of comments. People offered sympathy, prayers, and angry words toward the heartless sister. Maya's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She finally turned it off, sat on her couch, and cried quietly. She couldn't believe it had come to this. Her own family painting her as a monster just because she had dared to stand up for herself. At work, she tried to stay strong, but Mr. Daniels noticed the sadness on her face. One afternoon, he invited her into his office. "How's everything going, Maya?" he asked softly. She gave a tired smile. "It's been rough. My family hates me now. My mom's telling everyone I'm evil." He nodded slowly. People often hate what they don't understand, especially when you stop letting them control you. His words stayed with her. Mr. Daniels helped her fill out the necessary forms to delay the eviction legally. He guided her through each step with patience. "You're not doing anything wrong," he reminded her. "You're protecting your rights." Maya thanked him again and again. His support gave her a small sense of peace, a feeling she hadn't felt in a long time. But home was still unbearable. Evelyn and Jenna stopped talking to her completely. They would come by to pick up things from the hallway, whispering to each other but never saying a word to Maya. The silence was worse than shouting. It felt like being erased. Then one evening, Jenna showed up crying. Maya opened the door surprised. "What's wrong?" she asked softly. Jenna wiped her tears with trembling hands. "Ryan left me," she whispered. "He said he can't deal with all this drama. He doesn't want to be part of the mess." Maya's heart ached for her sister. "I'm sorry, Jenna. That's awful." But before she could say more, Evelyn appeared behind Jenna with a cold glare. "This is your fault," she spat. "You've brought nothing but trouble to this family. If you hadn't fought us, maybe Ryan wouldn't have run away." Maya took a step back, stunned. Mom, how is that my fault? Ryan made his own choice. Evelyn raised her voice. Everything has gone wrong since you started acting like you're better than us. You've turned your back on your family, and now you're proud of it. Jenna stood there silently, eyes full of tears but lips sealed. Something inside Maya broke again. But not the same way as before. This time it wasn't pain that filled her. It was anger, mixed with clarity. She looked straight at her mother and spoke in a calm but firm voice. I'm tired, Mom. Tired of being blamed for things I didn't do. Tired of being treated like I'm the enemy when all I ever did was help. Evelyn opened her mouth to interrupt, but Maya continued. I've given you everything I could, money, time, love. But you only notice me when you need someone to blame. I'm done living that way. Evelyn's face hardened. So this is who you are now? Cold and heartless. Maya shook her head. No, this is me finally choosing myself. Evelyn grabbed Jenna's arm and turned away, muttering something under her breath. The door slammed behind them, leaving Maya in silence again. But this time the silence didn't hurt. She sat down, breathing deeply, realizing how free she suddenly felt. For the first time, she didn't feel like the family scapegoat. She felt like a woman standing up for herself. It still hurt, of course. The loss, the distance, the guilt. But beneath it all was a quiet strength she had never known before. She whispered to herself, her voice steady and clear. I won't be guilt anymore. Not for your mistakes. And this time, she believed every word. Court day arrived, and Maya's hands trembled as she stood outside the small courtroom. She could hear the echo of voices inside. Her mother's sharp tone, her sister's nervous laughter. Evelyn and Jenna had arrived early, looking confident, even proud. Evelyn wore her favorite blue dress and walked with her chin lifted high. She truly believed Maya would back down once she saw her. When Maya walked in, Evelyn gave her a cold smile. You don't have to do this, Maya, she said sweetly. This is family. You really want strangers deciding our business? Maya didn't answer. She simply took her seat beside her lawyer, her file neatly organized in her hands, proof of every rent payment she'd made, messages from her mother asking for money, and even text threads showing emotional manipulation. Jenna sat beside Evelyn, her belly now round and visible. She looked at Maya with tearful eyes and whispered, Please, Maya, don't make this worse. You know I need a home. Maya looked at her sister for a long moment. You already had one, Jenna. I just wanted to keep mine. Before Jenna could respond, the judge entered, and everyone stood. The courtroom fell silent. The judge began by reviewing the case summary. Evelyn's lawyer claimed that Maya was a temporary guest, and that her mother had every right to ask her to leave. Maya listened quietly, her heart beating fast. Then it was her turn. Her lawyer stood and handed the judge a stack of papers. Your Honor, here are receipts of every rent payment my client has made over the last 4 years. You'll also find messages showing that this arrangement was treated as a tenancy, not a favor. Mrs. Evelyn accepted rent monthly and discussed payment schedules, which makes Maya a lawful tenant. The judge nodded, flipping through the documents. I see. Evelyn began to fidget in her seat. Your Honor, she interrupted. I was just helping my daughter. She's making this sound like I'm some kind of landlord. She's my child. I shouldn't need a contract to have her live under my roof. The judge looked up calmly. Mrs. Evelyn, I understand she's your daughter, but when you accept regular rent payments, the law views it as a tenancy. You can't simply evict someone with 2 weeks' notice. Evelyn's face turned red. I was just trying to help her sister. Jenna is pregnant and needs a stable place to live. What kind of sister takes her mother to court instead of helping her family? Maya finally spoke, her voice steady. The kind of sister who's tired of being walked over. The kind of daughter who just wanted respect. The courtroom went quiet again. Evelyn glared at her, eyes full of anger and disbelief. The judge turned back to Maya's lawyer. I've reviewed all the evidence. It's clear that Maya has been a paying tenant for years. She is entitled to proper notice and protection under the tenancy laws. He turned to Maya. Ms. Evelyn cannot remove you without following legal procedure. You're granted extended occupancy and legal acknowledgement as a tenant. You'll have time to find a new home on your own terms. For a moment, Maya couldn't breathe. She had won. After years of being blamed, ignored, and mistreated, someone had finally seen the truth. Evelyn stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. You're tearing this family apart over some paperwork. The judge calmly replied, Mrs. Evelyn, this court only enforces fairness. The rest is between you and your conscience. Evelyn's face darkened with anger. She grabbed her purse and stormed out of the courtroom. The sound of her heels echoed down the hall. Jenna sat frozen for a few seconds, tears rolling down her cheeks. But they weren't tears of guilt, they were tears of frustration. She had expected Maya to give in, as she always did. She had counted on her sister's silence. When Maya stood up to leave, Jenna turned to her and whispered, You didn't have to humiliate her like that. Maya looked at her calmly. I didn't humiliate her. I just stopped letting her humiliate me. Outside the courthouse, Evelyn was waiting, her arms crossed tightly. When Maya walked past, she said coldly, You've lost your family, Maya. I hope you're proud of yourself. Maya stopped, turned slightly, and looked at her mother one last time. There was no anger left in her eyes, only sadness and strength. No, Mom, she said softly. I didn't lose my family. I'm just finally free from pretending I ever had one. She walked away without looking back. The sun was shining, the air warm against her face. For the first time in her life, she felt light, as if the weight she had carried since childhood had finally fallen away. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew this much. She would never again let anyone make her feel small for standing up for herself. Weeks later, Maya moved into a new apartment, her very own place with her name on the lease. The moment she turned the key and stepped inside, she felt a wave of peace wash over her. There were no voices yelling, no guilt hanging in the air, no one watching her every move. Just quiet, soft light from the window and the scent of fresh paint. It was small but cozy, and for the first time in her life, it was hers. She spent the weekend unpacking slowly, enjoying the silence. Each time she placed something on a shelf or hung a picture on the wall, it felt like she was building a new version of herself, one that didn't need approval to feel worthy. At work, things started to look brighter too. A few days after moving, Mr. Daniels called her into his office with a smile. Maya, he said proudly, I heard you passed your LSAT. Her face lit up. Yes, I got my results this morning. He nodded, clearly pleased. That's incredible. You've worked so hard for this. And honestly, after seeing how you handled your case, I'm not surprised. You fought harder than some lawyers I know. Maya laughed softly, a little shy but proud. Thank you, sir. I wasn't sure I could do it. You can do anything you set your mind to, he said warmly. You just needed to believe it. Those words stayed with her all day. For years, she had waited for her mother to say something like that, to be proud of her, to see her worth. And though that day never came, hearing it from someone who respected her for who she truly was meant even more. That evening, while setting up her laptop on her new desk, Maya's phone buzzed. It was a message from Jenna. Hey Maya. I know things have been hard between us. Ryan's gone, and Mom barely talks to me now. I'm really struggling. I don't know what to do. Maya stared at the message for a long moment. The old her, the one who always rushed to fix everything, wanted to call immediately, to comfort her sister, to take on her pain again. But she stopped herself. She typed slowly. I'm sorry you're going through this. I know it's hard, but you'll figure it out, like I did. Then she set her phone down, calm and steady. She wasn't being cruel. She was simply choosing peace over guilt. Later that night, she opened her family group chat. The messages were full of gossip, complaints, and silent judgments. Without hesitation, she scrolled to the top and pressed delete chat. The screen went blank. For Maya, it wasn't just about removing a conversation. It was about letting go of a part of her life that no longer served her. She sat on the couch, surrounded by unpacked boxes and quiet music playing in the background. The city lights glowed softly through the window. She took a deep breath and smiled. A real smile, not the polite one she used to wear around her family. For the first time in years, she wasn't trying to earn love or prove her worth. She simply existed, free, capable, and at peace. Maya leaned back, closed her eyes, and whispered to herself, this is what peace feels like. And in her new home, filled with warmth and silence, she finally believed it. Maya sat by the window of her new apartment, the soft morning light spilling across her desk. A cup of tea sat beside her, still warm. She held a pen in her hand and stared at the blank sheet of paper for a long moment, before she began to write. She started the letter with simple words, "Dear Mom." Her handwriting was slow and careful. She didn't plan to send the letter, but somehow she needed to write it, needed to release everything she had carried inside her for years. She wrote about the pain, the rejection, and the silence, about how hard she had tried to be enough, how much it hurt to always be blamed and misunderstood. Then she paused, letting out a long breath, and her tone changed. "Thank you," she wrote, "for teaching me what love should never feel like. Because of you, I've learned that love should not hurt, or shame, or make me small. I've learned that family isn't about who raised you, it's about who values you." Tears filled her eyes, but they weren't from sadness this time. They were from relief. She placed the pen down and looked out the window. The world outside was bright and full of life, cars passing, children laughing in the distance, sunlight touching everything it could reach. For the first time in a long while, Maya smiled, a soft, peaceful smile. She whispered quietly to herself, "Sometimes, losing them is how you find yourself." She folded the letter neatly and tucked it into a small box in her drawer. It wasn't meant to be sent, it was meant to be released. Then she stood, walked to the balcony and opened the door. The fresh air brushed against her face, warm and light. She closed her eyes and let the sunlight fall across her skin. For once there was no anger, no guilt, no fear, only peace. And in that moment, Maya finally felt free. Hey besties. Two Hearts, thanks so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories. See you next time. Sparkle's waving hand.